the key reoccurring theme that keeps coming out is science engagement, science issues. You know, fishermen are willing and want to do this. It's really high up on their priority list.
I think you need to be really clear on where you're going, what you're aiming for, but also what's manageable and realistic, so that everyone kind of stays on the same page, but also stays committed to the long journey that it will be.
And my role with the association is to bring science closer to industry and to bring industry closer to science. And in particular, what they wanted to do was understand how the industry could make a contribution to the scientific information base that lead to stock assessments and then ultimately the advice on fishing quotas. It's about being able to provide information so their observations at sea get translated, as it were, into real data that can go into stock assessment. So one, it's the value of knowing you're making a contribution. Two, it's the sense that that data is going directly into the assessments themselves, and that builds both understanding and confidence that the assessments might be yielding some sense, if you like. And we know that the trust and the confidence in stock assessments is at times very low. So you're building that trust, understanding and confidence over time.
Having the right people involved is really important. Having someone like Steve, who is obviously industry representative, but also people that know the ICES process or the processes of where you want the data utilised. It can be difficult to navigate the ICES processes if you're not familiar with them. So having those people who are familiar with that is really useful. Equally, having Marine Scotland involved is useful. They obviously collect data currently. So having them involved to advise on what they require. They're heavily involved in ICES as well, so they can advise on those sorts of things.
So how it differs is that when the crew themselves are sampling, every single vessel can sample regardless of whether they land overseas. So the whole fleet as a pool is available to undertake the sampling, so you get representation of the whole fleet. And in addition to sampling the lengths, they sample the weights of fish as well. And those two things, length at age and weight at age, are actually particular pieces of information that go into stock assessment.
A key part of the project was making sure that we had robust processes that were set up so the data would be credible and trusted. So obviously we had to make sure we designed and developed methods that worked on board vessels, but also could stand up to scrutiny. We also needed all the following processes to be robust as well. So from the moment of data collection on board vessels through to the data handling and then the onward use of data. So we made sure that we have really clearly documented processes for all of these things. So we have sampling protocols for the vessels to use. We train all the crew in the processes so they fully understand what they're doing and that they are following that protocol, so the data is collected in a systematic way. We also have a chain of custody for the data. So that means that all of the processes relating to the data are documented from start to finish.
The parallel pathway that we need to think about now is we've got information coming from industry, but we need to get the route to get it into IC's door, if you like. And that's really the key to that is, you know, the partnership that we have with Marine Scotland. They are the responsible authority for submitters of data. So we have to work in partnership and map that out with them.
We can compare the industry collected data with the data that's collected from factories by the Marine Scotland agents. And what we found is that they align really well.
Think of it all as just a quality assurance process. You know, ideally what we'll have in the end is a quality certified sampling scheme that can reassure both those institutes and agencies that the information and the processes that are collected, you know, pass muster. How to do it is actually the easiest part. It's probably the people dynamics and stuff and the collaborations and maintaining and being consistent with those. That's actually more challenging over time. The mechanics is fairly straightforward.
Communication. I think, and that's really key, not just with industry, but with all the partners that you have involved.
So don't be afraid. Reach out. We've all got a lot to learn, but reach out to the other side and start to discuss it. I mean, communication. The data is owned by the fishermen. It's their data, full stop. That's it. But what we have is a data policy that took about 18 months in the making and went through a sign-off procedure at board level. First people who get their data back is the fishermen.